song?
People who are happy. They seem to me like people who don't want anything anymore. People that don't want anything really frighten me.
And that was originally an offshoot of Gothic. And the band that started it all was the Sisters of Mercy, and they're under the 120 X-ray after this.
I'm Patricia Morrison.
And I'm Andrew Eldridge, and we are the Sisters of Mercy.
And you're watching 120 Minutes on MTV.
The Sisters of Mercy. The name is meant to evoke a cross between a nun and a prostitute. And lead singer Andrew Eldridge says that that's a good metaphor for a rock and roll band. Now, for the past 8 years, Eldridge has not so much subverted pop music as completely ignored it. And in doing so, he inspired the Gothic movement. And more importantly, his music created a sense of primal awe that the 20th century has virtually extinguished. Eldridge despises progress in a song called Black Planet, and that in itself has become a timeless theme.
Black Planet's always there. There are a few songs which I wrote for previous records which somehow seem to keep reoccurring in the background, overshadowing the presence of it. That's certainly one.
Black Planet was one of the tracks off the first Sisters of Mercy album, First, Last, and Always. In 1985, shortly after the album came out, the Sisters of Mercy split up. Guitarist Wayne Hussey and bassist Craig Adams formed the Mission UK, while Andrew Eldridge moved to Hamburg, Germany, and recorded an album under the name of the Sisterhood. Well, last year, Eldridge reformed the Sisters of Mercy with Patricia Morrison, the former bassist with the Gun Club. Their new album is called Floodland, and the next video off it will be Dominion. They shot it in Jordan with a little help from King Hussein.
We just sent the producers Gothic to have tea with the king and demand his helicopter, and he got it. Which is wonderful. It's wonderful. And 50 Bedouin and their camels playing with it. For that, we got windburn, sunburn, jet lag, and saddle sore.
On the new Sisters of Mercy album, the song Dominion segues into another song, Mother Russia. Now, Dominion is about what Eldridge calls the glorious stupidity of absolute power. But Mother Russia is more specifically anti-American. And we asked him about his attitude toward the U.S.
I like the idea of having this continent, which is one big psychopathic Disneyland, set across the water from where I live. That's fine. I get to visit it, play around, occasionally talk to some of the attractions in the zoo. Don't have a problem with that. It's when it comes to my house that I have a problem with it.
Well, whether or not Andrew Eldridge likes America, America likes the Sisters of Mercy. This corrosion has become a hit on alternative radio and clubs. Here's that video.
With elements of darkness, examples of The Cure, Depeche Mode, and now the Sisters of Mercy. The duo of Andrew Eldridge and Patricia Morrison make dark, provocative music on their latest album, Floodland, which they discussed on a recent visit to New Grooves.
We're reasonably bright people.
Yeah, we're quite
radiant.
Up. I just seem more comfortable wearing this than most other things, but I could wear white and be just as effective doing the same thing.
The difference between us and most bands is that we write songs for a world as is, and I think most bands write songs for a prettier world, a world that doesn't really exist. It's not so hard to understand all of this in England, which is a country which is very aware that it's going straight down the toilet. In America, it's sort of harder to get people to accept that the world isn't such a pretty place.
And
a very refreshing thing to be able to do after all the time that we've been in bands. And they really did what they could have because they were so constricted by their own little ego trips. Oh, you have to write a guitar line for him, you have to write a guitar line for him. He's not going to like to play a minor chord, so we better not have a middle eight there.
it just really takes the limits off not having a band. People think, well, there's only two of you, what can you do? But you can do whatever you want.
Off of Floodland, the new album from the Sisters of Mercy, good old Dave is going to tell us some more.
It's strange how almost comforting that video is. symbolism on film is never quite as graphic as you'd visualize it yourself. The Sisters' new album, Floodland, is fresh nightmare country. Keyboard wash has submerged the glaciated guitar quake of the original Sisters, but the old obsessions, fears, and glories remain. Andrew Eldritch writes about power, love, loss, water, and snow. He writes about inanimate objects becoming overwhelming forces. And he writes about the sickness and the vision that make it so. In a song called Driven Like the Snow, all motion freezes, paralysis treads. And on Dominion Mother Russia, Eldritch spits hatred for the American dream and romantically embraces the Russian Revolution. Speedy Gonzales. Lyrically, Eldritch plumbs new depths. He turns poetic devices of pun, rhyme, and meter into weapons, layering images into a grand, grotesque funeral pyre. On Floodland, the Sisters of Mercy create a musical oasis in a desert of entertainment. Well, something like that anyway, Kevin.
With another world premiere right here, it's Dominion from Sisters of Mercy. X-ray on Sisters of Mercy. Here's a song about England with a video shot in America, and then a song about America with a video shot in England. You go figure. It's immaterial driving away from home. The return of the prodigal godfather of goth. The 120 X-rays on the Sisters of Mercy.
We're just ourselves, man. I mean,
we're not doing anything wrong. We're just kids hanging out, trying to have a good time.
having a good time.
Because you can learn something from every type of music, and there's something good about everything. You know, you have to be optimistic.
Like a balanced diet.
Gothic punk, is it still the cutting edge of new music, or is it just thinking man's heavy metal? Just a string of satanic images with the odd reference to the Velvet Underground and maybe an existential philosopher or two thrown in. One thing's for sure, the Gothic scene might look new and wacky to some people, but it follows a long line of musical and literary tradition. So it's hard to say just when Gothic was born. In the late 70s, Bauhaus set the scene, but the man that they call the godfather of goth is Andrew Eldritch, frontman for the Sisters of Mercy. Between 1980 and 1984, the Sisters of Mercy released a string of 12-inch singles and an album called First, Last, and Always. After they broke up, guitarist Wayne Hussey and bassist Craig Adams formed The Mission, and singer Andrew Eldritch took the name The Sisterhood for an album called The Gift. While The Mission were flaunting their Gothic caricatures around the top 40 marketplace, Eldritch moved to Hamburg and laid low. But he did mail out a series of mysterious postcards to journalists and ex-girlfriends. They were signed Von Eldritch X, and some of these were written in Chinese. So was this the end of Andrew Eldritch? Nuh-uh. In 1987, the Sisters of Mercy are back. Eldritch has a new partner, Patricia Morrison from the Gun Club, and an upcoming 12-inch record on Elektra Records, This Corrosion. As for the video, in Eldritch's own words, this corrosion is an indictment of bombast. There is no other way to do it.